One of our philosophies behind designing Forge of Foes, which is available on Kickstarter now, you can find a link down into the show notes to back the Forge of Foes Kickstarter today. And one of the things that's really interesting about the design approach we took with this is we look at big problems from different angles, which means sometimes we offer different solutions to a particular issue. And an example would be quick monster building guidelines that we have in the sample chapter. You can see our table for building a quick monster, building the statistics, adding on creature templates, and adding on other powers that you can use to kind of build up your monsters. But one of the other ways that we're taking a look at this is with an idea called general use combat stat blocks. And the idea behind this is instead of having a table of every single challenge rating from CR 1/8 all the way to CR 30, instead of needing to use a table like that to build a monster, what if we tried to find like 7 monster stat blocks that cover the widest range of potential scenarios across the entire spectrum of the game? So it's not always intended that these act as like a boss monster, but it does mean we want a stat block that at different levels can support different purposes. And this, so I'm going to show off this chapter right now. It's only a quick 2-page chapter, but it has what I think are something that could be really, really exciting for running games. So instead of looking up things in that table, or in addition to looking up things in that table, because we're offering both the table and this, you can use one of these stat blocks and reskin it. These are designed to be reskinned very easily based on its challenge rating. And we selected and played around with, in the last couple of weeks I've been playing around with exactly what challenge ratings are most useful across the widest range of games from level 1 to 20. And these are the ones that we sort of picked. You'll notice that they lean a little bit more towards the low end because that's where the differences in levels have the biggest difference. And in the higher end, you can have bigger stat blocks with a bigger gap between them because they support a wider range of activities in higher levels. So an example is the CR 1/8 minion. And the idea here, each time we talk about like what kind of monster makes sense for this stat block. And ravenous rats, weak skeletons, shifty bandits, or low-ranking cultists. Like the CR 1/8 are your lowest form of combatant that you're likely to see. And they serve well as either like one-on-one against a group of first level characters, or you can use them in larger groups at higher levels, like 4th level and above. Very simple stat block. Our armor class of 11, 9 hit points, a base set of stats, and a single attack. +3 to hit, does 4 damage. Really straightforward stuff. This is a good minion to throw against first level characters. They're not going to kill first level characters outright. They have low enough hit points that usually 1 or 2 hits are going to take them out. And in large groups later on, when you can cast like Burning Hands, you're likely to take out a bunch of them at once. So they're really designed to be kind of a minion style stat block. Now, one of the things you'll notice with these stat blocks, not so much with this one where it has like a +1 to dexterity, is that the attributes that we select here, we picked one particular attribute to make the main attribute. All you have to do is shift that over to one of the other attributes if you want to change the style of monster. We'll get into that when we look into some of this a little bit more. So then we have a 1/2 CR monster. Now the CR 1/2 monster, this is like a seasoned or trained guard, trained soldiers, a more powerful bandit, a murderous humanoid, or another kind of armed undead. Stronger than like your typical skeleton, and certainly stronger than your typical minion. So a little bit beefier, right? This is a little bit of a beefier stat block. It works well against as like a boss for a first level group, or it could be like an elite monster when you have like one of these for every 2 characters, about level 2. For 4th level, they work well as a one-on-one combatant. And at level 6 and or above, you could drop a few of these. And the design is such that like the hit points of the soldier is low enough that a fireball will take them out. That's one of the thoughts, is like if you're going to have a bunch of minions at higher levels where you can kill a whole bunch of them, the soldier still works as a minion enough that it can be killed with most of the big blast spells that you're going to cast later. And this is when you see like this one is really built on strength, right? We gave it a high strength of 14, and that's where its attack is coming from. Dexterity is +1, so it's a little bit more of its armor class and stuff like that, but the AC is relatively low with an AC of 12. Constitution's a little higher, which is why it has 22 hit points. And the soldier can make 2 attacks, right? This is a 2-attack creature, +4 to hit, 5 damage each. If you think about your thug, if you think about other sort of CR 1/2 monsters, CR 1/2 monsters are actually pretty beefy and can do a fair bit of damage on their attacks. And that's sort of the soldier one. So you can see where like you could grab that soldier, you can throw some other abilities onto it, you can make it a different kind of creature, change things a little bit, and you still have a monster you can drop right on your table and are ready to use. Next one is the Brute at CR2. This is like a heavy-hitting veteran, a powerful bodyguard. Low-ranking demons or devils might fall into this. Dangerous monsters in the wild. You could have like a more powerful undead, like if you want to have a white is a little stronger than this, but it could probably serve, especially if you're going to have a few whites. 13 AC. The armor class on these guys is always a little bit lower, and hit points are a little bit higher because we think it's more fun to hit monsters, and the monsters survive more from hit points than from a high armor class. But you can always change the armor class to support the story of the monster that you want. That's something that we promote. You'll see that this one is focused on strength as well. CR2 makes 2 attacks, +5 to hit, 10 damage on each attack. All these guys hit a little bit hard. They're all a touch hard. Their intention is that you can add on these other abilities and you have a really powerful creature. So that's a CR2. Then we jump to CR4 with a template we call the Specialist. The Specialist is like a spy, an assassin, a hunter, or a trained elite force. This stat block is designed to be kind of a more stealthy sort of stat block. But again, the intention is that all you have to do is move the attribute around. And by moving the primary attribute, you could still make it a heavy-hitting brute if you wanted. The hit points aren't going to change. The armor class doesn't have to change. All you have to do is move which ability is higher, and it doesn't change any of the other specs on the creature. The attack bonus, the amount of damage they do, that all stays the same. You just say it's strength instead of dexterity. And really, you can just do that in your head. You don't even have to write anything down. You can just use the exact same stat block the way it is, only say, oh, it's strength instead of dexterity, and you're good to go. Same thing with making like a spellcaster. If you decided that your specialist wanted to be like a low-level wizard, you can just simply say, okay, instead of dexterity, now it's intelligence. But it still does it. And instead of the multi-attack could still be, it does 2 arcane blasts. And the arcane blasts are +6 to hit and do 15 damage each of arcane damage, or force damage, right? And you're done. So you can use these stat blocks and reskin them in your head and make them really strong. So it's definitely designed to be usable right off of the page with just modifications you make in your head. The Myrmidon is a CR7. Now we're getting into these higher level, higher CR monsters. Powerful elite bodyguards, high priests, wizards, warlocks, sorcerers, demons, and devils. It serves as a boss monster for 5th level characters, an elite combatant, i.e. 1 creature for 2 characters at 7th level, a one-on-one combatant at 10th level, or in large groups at 20th level. If you were going to have a large group of creatures attack the characters, the Myrmidon would probably be about as high as you want to go, and even against 20th level characters. We focus this one on intelligence. So this one is kind of designed to be like, a wizard out front, but you can move that intelligence over to strength. Works just fine. Works exactly. You really only have to do it for things like saving throws, right? If you decide, okay, well, actually he's trained in intelligence for a saving throw instead of wisdom for a saving throw, then you can move it around for saving throws. But generally, you don't even have to worry about which ability score is the highlighted ability score for a monster, unless you want to do it in your head, because the rest of the stat block still works. 15 armor class, 123 hit points, 3 attacks, +7 to hit, 16 damage per attack. Straight up, straightforward. Again, if you're making like a wizard kind of character, your wizard character can do 3 different fiery blasts, +7 to hit on each fiery blast, and each blast does 16 damage. Again, you can also sort of reskin these abilities. You can add on the other monster powers that we have in Forge of Foes to spice these things up, to give them abilities that they might not have otherwise. So you can use them either directly as is, or you can wrap on a monster template, or you can add on monster powers and really spice these things up to be exactly what you want. So they're really designed to be as modular as you want them to be and easily usable right off the page. The Sentinel, CR11. Now we're getting into the real big ones. Often there are otherworldly beings such as demons, devils, other powerful Polanear beings, powerful guardian constructs, powerful undead servants. These are your big blasters. The stat block can serve as a boss for 7th level characters, an elite monster 2-to-1 for 12th level characters, or standalone 1-on-1 against 16th level characters. This one focuses on strength as its main ability score, but again, you can shift them and move them wherever you want. AC 17, definitely a higher armor class, 165 hit points, makes 4 attacks, +9 to hit, 18 damage per hit. So lots of damage, lots of attacks. It's gonna put out a bunch of damage. And then finally we have our champion. The champion is the highest level version. Now, why don't we have like a CR20 for like big boss monsters? And the idea behind that is if you're really gonna have a big boss monster at high challenge ratings, you're gonna wanna use something more than just a quick template for this. The ideas behind these is that these are the ones that you have on hand to improvise a game, and you really don't want to be improvising a high challenge rating boss monster. So we're not offering a high challenge, really high, like a CR 20 or 25 or anything like that. You can make one if you want using our quick monster guidelines, but we're not offering a stat block for that because we don't think that that's going to work particularly well, even if we offered one. The champion, however, can work well as a powerful boss for like 11th level characters. It can act as an elite, i.e. stand up to about 2 characters at 15th level, or one-on-one against 17th level characters. Has an armor class of 19, 212 hit points. This one focuses on charisma as its ability. We kind of wanted to mix the attributes around a little bit. It makes 4 attacks, plus 11 to hit with each attack, and does 24 points of damage per hit. So it hits pretty hard. So you can see that the complexity of these stat blocks doesn't really get much higher, even at higher challenge ratings. They are all about their armor class, their hit points, the number of attacks they have, and the amount of damage that they do. That's the stuff that really shifts up and down. The intention is that you would want to customize these around the kind of monsters you're actually going to have in your game, with both flavor and story. And if you want to tie some mechanics to the flavor and story of the monster, you can use our creature templates and put that right on top. And you can use some of the monster powers that we have elsewhere in the book to really spice these things up. The design intention for this is you could print this out on one sheet of paper, both sides, and you probably have the stat blocks you need to pretty much run a game at any level that you're going to play, other than maybe high-level boss monsters. I've used this at my table, and I find it really easy to use. I had a monster I wanted to run in my game on Wednesday, and I looked at the stat block in the book, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of complicated, and I don't know how balanced this is. I'm just going to use my Myrmidon instead. And I used the Myrmidon stat block, and the feedback I got from the players was like, wow, that was really fun. It was hard, and it was interesting, and I really liked it. And it was like I swapped them things out. I gave it a breath weapon. I took the breath weapon power, and I did it in my head. I didn't even write anything down. But just having this one sheet in front of me was all I needed to run a good, fun battle for 4 7th level characters. And that was just using the Myrmidon stat block. It worked really well. So this is just one of the things that we have in Forge of Foes. This is just 2 pages out of the 128 pages of monster stuff that we have in for Forge of Foes. If you think this is cool, if you want to see more stuff like this, if you want to see all the monster powers that we have, if you want to see all the guidance, everything else, then please check out the Kickstarter. Now is the best time to get involved. You can find a link down to the Kickstarter in the show notes below. So very exciting stuff. I hope you'll check it out. Again, please check out Forge of Foes, 30-page preview on the Kickstarter page, and I hope you dig it. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG.